Maryland. It's Tea with Tamara.
Care Bear Stare. Good morning, everybody. I have 2 lives going on with Instagram and Facebook. It is Wednesday, March 28th. It's hard to believe that March is almost over. And only a few short 5 days ago, we began something that is considered not everybody's favorite, but I want to kind of make it everybody's favorite, because I think that if we go into Mercury retrograde with a guys, hey Pam, Kelly, Esther, if we go into Mercury retrograde with the gloom and doom, everything's going to fall apart, and you know, I'm never going to, like, all my electronics and my washer and dryer and heat, Pam, and all these things are going to go down, and it's confusing, and I wish I could just curl up into a ball or find a cave and disappear for 3 weeks while we're in Mercury retrograde. I got to tell you guys, you're in for a long 3 weeks, especially because it happens 3 to 4 times a year. Now, for me, Mercury retrograde is like one of my favorite times. And I say that it's one of my favorite times because it is the greatest time that we have to do internal work. Okay? So like, when Mercury retrograde hits, it's going to ask you to do something. And if you don't like doing this one thing, of course it's going to feel a little bit icky. But just to give you an idea about what Mercury retrograde is, it's the planet Mercury, and it's like during our transit 3 times a year, it looks as if it's going backwards, but it's not actually going backwards. So like, do you know when you get passed by a car, right, on the highway because you're going too slow, such as I do. If there's bad weather, I always drive really, really slow, so I get passed all the time. But if it's nice weather, I'm going to want to pass somebody else, right? And as I'm passing that car, it'll almost look like that car is going in slow motion. Now, it's not going in backwards or in slow motion, but to me, as I'm moving fast across it, it will perceive that way. And that's kind of what Mercury retrograde is doing. It doesn't actually physically move backwards, but we perceive it from Earth as if it is. Now, during that time, right, everything slows down in our lives. And everything is like, okay, I need to come back fully into who I am and where I'm going. And so, like, if you read Susan Miller, who is one of my favorite horoscope ladies in the land, I read my monthly horoscope every single month. She's bang freaking on. I can put her link in the chat box afterwards. One of the things she talks about is that Mercury retrograde is time for the re's, R-E, reassess, reevaluate, reinvent, redo, recalibrate. Any word that starts with re, this is the time that you have for 3 weeks to really anchor in to doing the internal work to get to a new birth at the end of Mercury retrograde. I love it because I always know whatever I'm focusing on during the Mercury retrograde, if I go in and I do the reassessment and I do the reevaluation and I look at everything that's happening in my business and my life and really kind of focus on it, slow the fuck down, because we live in a hustling world. And so we take the time to slow down. And we look at it and we think, okay, what's working? What's not working? How do I feel about this? How do I want to move this forward? How do I want to move that forward? And you do the reevaluation. When you step out of Mercury retrograde, I believe it's April 15th. I want to say the 15th. When you step out of Mercury retrograde, it's like you just shed this like skin that was too small for you anyway, right? So it's a really powerful 3 weeks. And if you know that if you just kind of slow down a little bit, which nobody likes to do, but we're going to do it, and you put a little bit of work into yourself, that when you reemerge at the end of this, it's like you're like lighter and it feels so freaking good. Now, the key to Mercury retrograde that everybody needs to talk about, because this is a true story, digest tea, is the fact that Mercury is the planet of communications. So let's have a little sense of humor here, people. Let's have a little fun. Let's not let things like computers crashing or missed appointments or disorganization of your time mess with you. If you enter Mercury retrograde with the knowledge that, you know, sometimes my computer is just going to stop and scream at me, which it did yesterday and it did it 2 days ago. Like legitimately, it just shuts down, pauses, and goes really, really loud at me. I'm like, oh, that's nice, right? Quick fix, no big deal. I can jump on Zoom on my phone. Everybody understands. The thing here is not to get aggravated or upset or angry with the missed technology or the, missed appointments and things like that. I've had two Biz Energy readings that didn't show up, but then later contacted me and said, oh my goodness, I completely forgot, or I didn't even think about it. I thought it was last week. I'm not upset with them. I'm not upset with the circumstance. I just giggle inside. I'm like, ooh, hoo, hee, hee, Mercury retrograde strikes again. And when you have the sense of humor about it, it doesn't have to be something that is overwhelming or stops you or makes you feel like people are letting you down or anything like that. One of the other pieces that I do during Mercury retrograde, and this is the biggest thing that I'm going to say to you guys, is I love it. And I'm saying this because things that we love are kind and gentle and wonderful with us. If we go in a fearful, angry state to Mercury retrograde, let's be real. Mercury retrograde is going to project all the shit back on you. And why would we want that? Why would we think, oh my God, Mercury retrograde, I can't start anything new. I can't buy any electronics. Everything's going to be messed up. Everything's going to go down. As soon as you get into a fearful state of Mercury retrograde, you're going to receive all of the things that you're thinking about, right? It's called projection. Works like a charm every time with everything that we are thinking about. But if you go into Mercury retrograde going, I can't wait to see things in Mercury retrograde will happen to myself and to others. I love it. I think of these 3 weeks as almost like the court jester, if you will. And so I laugh with Mercury retrograde as opposed to against it. And the other thing is that I love it because I journal more in Mercury retrograde than any other time. And so the key is not to fight the fact that you're going to want to reevaluate and reassess and redo and recalibrate. And so like you'll find yourself not wanting to, do certain things that you love to do, or you're going to want to like throw in the towel and start new. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. I wouldn't take giant steps during Mercury retrograde. I would definitely be writing down all my thoughts and feelings about what I'm looking at or how I want to reevaluate and shift my business or my life. 100%. I'd be all up in that write down grill. But I wouldn't make any big monumental decisions until after 4 days after Mercury retrograde. So you'll get it about April 20th. Before we make like major life changes. Don't get me wrong. They even say don't sign any contracts during Mercury retrograde. I got a contract yesterday. I'm signing it today. I'm so excited about it, but I'm not going to tell you about it right now because that's a whole other live TV show. But just guys, if you want to share some Mercury retrograde love stories in the chat box, this is a time where we feed love into it so that we're not in a fearful state or thinking that it's going to take us down. Have a sense of humor with it, engage in it, journal the crap out of what you feel like you want to be doing with your business, how you want to be shifting your life. It could be health consciousness. It could be, the fact that you're reevaluating a relationship. All sorts of magical things are going to come up during Mercury retrograde. But the thing is again, wait till about April 20th before we make the major decision to take action on it. Know that if you do get electronics, sign contracts, do any form of job taking during these 3 weeks, it's just not as stable. It doesn't mean don't do it. It just means it's not as stable. It does, like, we don't pause our lives. I think that's about it for this little how to love Mercury retrograde a lot chat. Super fun. So guys, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, always place them in the comments because I get back to it during the day. Let me know where you are. If you ever have any questions that you want me to chat about on Mercury, not on Mercury, on Tea with Tamara, I'm in. Like, I love you guys, and I want to make sure that I'm covering stuff that you want to be talking about. If this was valuable, please share it so other people can learn to love Mercury retrograde. And I cannot wait to see you again next week. It is my favorite time, even when I try to curl my hair and it's an epic failure. What is that? That's not even curled, but it's still my favorite day. So have the most magical Mercury retrograde Wednesday, and I will be back with you guys next week with even more big Care Bear stares of love. Bye, guys.